Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively, we are the Office Blokes.
All three of us together in a room. It's true.
True factual statement.
Press
He did
play.
like not moving his lips then.
We're going to do a bit of Jimmy High Roller.
Like this guy. Like the channel. Great channel.
It's good.
The video is just called "This Is Getting Out of Control," and it's his new video.
Yeah, it's my go-to channel for basketball.
Oh yeah,
Jimmy
yeah.
High Roller.
There's a couple of really good ones. I think Rebound is one of the other ones that we react to.
I don't think it's good as this though.
Jimmy High Roller's
Premium
the best.
account this.
He's like the Popo Medic of the basketball world in terms of editing. And
He knows.
Yeah.
I love it when you meet someone and you talk sport to them about different things and they know sport or a certain sport like nobody else knows. And Jimmy High Roller is one of them with basketball.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's
I
like
think
you
you're
talk to me
right
and Mike about football. To be fair, we know everything, right?
Of course we do, yeah.
there. Bit of a humble brag there. But,
It's true though, isn't it?
It is true.
it's true. Right then, Jimmy High Roller, this is getting out of control. Let's do it.
Question. What do Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, and these 78 other players have in common? I'll give you a second to think about it. There's a lot of guys here, different
Basketball
teams.
players.
Yeah, they're all basketball players.
Is that what you were actually
I
going to
think
say?
None of
I
them got
think-
any legs.
Who did he start off with? It was
Kevin Durant.
Kevin
wasn't it?
Durant.
Yeah.
That was the thing for me, that when he started with Kevin Durant, I'd put it down as something like
What have they got in
injuries,
common? Reckon.
regular injuries.
Right.
There's quite a
Because
big.
LeBron gets injured quite a bit, doesn't he? I know LaMelo Ball has as well, but Kevin Durant's I think he's made of Weetabix. You know what I mean?
Bit brittle.
Yeah.
Why? So would he be alluding to the fact that injuries are getting out of control?
Oh, is that getting out? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something to do with something else. Then I wouldn't think you'd say you're getting out of control, would you?
No, unless maybe it's purchases or
Not
like
the amount of money that-
lifestyle.
Lifestyle, yeah.
Lifestyle or
Well,
what you're earning.
lifestyle comes with injuries.
I suppose you cheer yourself up.
I find that when in soccer, right, when we watch players getting injured, I seem to see them players out on the pitch, and I'm like, I'm not surprised you're injured, mate.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't do that at this
Just
level.
seems to be a bit prevalent in that sense, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
get, I mean, not all the time, but I mean, you get clean looking ones like your Ronaldos
Yeah.
of this world.
Go a
and
long way.
Never injured,
Yeah.
but
And then
and
you
you
get the
go on for
ones that-
years and years. Then you get others retiring early, and then you think, I wonder why. Maybe your Mersons and
Yeah, my guess on this would be injuries.
Yeah.
Something along them lines.
Situations. It's injuries. All
yeah.
88
There you go.
of these players are either
Come on,
out
Jimmy.
or day to day due to injuries. NBA players just can't stay healthy. And no longer is it just the notoriously injury-prone players being
Kevin Durant.
sidelined. It seems like no one can avoid both small and severe injuries. And the weirdest part is that no one can figure out why. Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. With the NBA season quickly coming to a close, don't miss out on seeing your favorite.
I'm thinking that Jimmy has a theory as to why.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you think these days because they are.
It's
Everything
high
is
impact.
Everything's quicker. It's the more athletic. But then again, you'd think if they're more toned as well, aren't they? They have more muscle mass
But the
and
re-
heat healthier in general. They should do in general.
But the recovery should be better because they've got better facilities, probably better physios,
Better treatments these days.
better
as well.
understanding of injuries and
Yeah, of
surgeries
course.
and things.
Yeah.
Do you know
So-
when you used to basketball back in the early days? When I say early days, I'm talking the 80s. People like Michael Jordan used to play. I don't really remember Jordan being, I never really watched basketball on a
Getting a
massive
bad
scale.
injury or something.
But when
You've seen this before.
Bit of foreshadowing going
What
on.
if it's injuries? Michael Jordan, he's the next one up.
I got to let you know, I'm Jimmy High Roller. But it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? It's a bit when you talk Michael, he's going to be in every basketball video, isn't he? With
James Harden will definitely be in
He's
it.
got to be, hasn't he?
But what you've got as well is you've got players that come. When you had Michael Jordan, you had a handful of elite level players. Now in basketball, you seem to have a lot more elite level players.
I get you.
So I reckon the game's going at each other a little bit harder than what it was back then as well.
There's also
A little bit faster, a little bit more. Do you want a bit more entertainment value in
Yeah.
the crowd?
Yeah.
And you're trying to be a little bit smarter.
But
But
as
I
a-
also think the lifestyle.
as a fan, you probably feel it more when you lose an 18 player, and if there's that many teams that are that many players now that are at a ridiculously high level, you're going to lose more high players to injury that are at a high level. You're going to notice it more, aren't you?
Well, what's the injuries that they get the most in basketball? I'm guessing ankles, knees. You'd think some of that, wouldn't you?
Shoulders, maybe.
Quite a lot
Yeah.
of broken fingers and stuff.
Wrist, arm.
A few of these guys
Could
falling
be
down,
anything.
it's a long way to fall in your shoulder as well, isn't it?
Big time.
And don't forget, I mean, there's no giving it because hard
Hard
courts
floor,
as well.
Yeah.
So,
In the 2002-2003 NBA season, Michael Jordan played in his last NBA game. And at 40 years old, Michael managed to play all 82 regular season games that year. Looking back, this seems like an extraordinary feat for an aging legend. But 20 years ago, it was fairly standard to play every single game. In fact, that same season, Kevin Garnett didn't miss a single game. Kobe Bryant didn't miss a game. Steve Nash didn't. Neither did Allen Iverson or Stephon Marbury. Even the 7'6" Yao Ming played all 82 games that season.
Wow.
Fast forward 20 years, and in a league where injuries and load management have ran rampant, there is only...
One thing I want to point out as well is the value of a player now is a little bit different to the value of what it was then.
So the level of injury may have dropped significantly.
For value and longevity.
Yeah.
So you might get people like, I don't know how long people like Marbury or Iverson, I don't know how old they were when they retired. You know, they were saying there Jordan was like 40 years old, was he, or something?
40. So
Now we know, but he's the GOAT of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or one of, right up there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, these younger guys, younger generation that come in, like your LaMelo Balls, people like that, they don't want to risk a slight little injury. You might have got Jordan playing with like, a bit of just quick injection into his leg
Like
and
just
then playing
managing
on,
it.
playing on a little bit. You know what I mean?
okay.
Carry on playing.
Very good
Just
point.
go
that.
for it.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays it's a little bit more money.
Maybe they're
involved,
saving
isn't it?
themselves for the bigger matches, making sure they're there for
And
the
the
big
longevity
ones.
of
And play
the
for a longer
career.
time.
Yeah.
I think you've got to be
Very
right
good
there.
point,
'Cause,
that. Yeah.
someone might be playing with a sprained ankle in the 80s and
Yeah.
just power through the pain.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like off physio, make sure you're right.
I think even in soccer, there's famous been certain players that if they weren't absolutely 100%,
Yeah.
they just won't play.
Well,
I think Van
correct.
Persie was a bit like that.
Yeah.
If you had a little niggle or anything, which most players would just strap it or just crack on with it, he won't
Stop.
play apparently.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few players like that that have to be 100%.
I'm just wondering if this is similar.
I think you might
Could
be
be,
right.
yeah, it's a good point.
You'd be on fire if it is.
Oh, it will be, won't it? I mean, he's obviously seen it before.
One all-star level player who hasn't missed a single game all season. But this is just the tip of the injury-riddled iceberg, because this season there are only 12 players who haven't missed a single game. 20 years ago, there were 46 players who didn't miss
Wow.
a single game all season. What's going on here? Why can't
lot.
NBA players stay on the court? With advancements in training, nutrition, recovery, the amount of money these players are spending on their bodies, the world-class facilities and staff to keep them in impeccable condition, how are these players incapable of staying healthy? Well, we have some theories, but I'm not sure if anyone has an answer. There are currently 88 players throughout the NBA listed as out or day-to-day due to injuries. That is 20% of the entire league sidelined because of injuries. Over the last week, videos have surfaced from around the league of multiple players getting injured in the middle of their pre-game warm-ups, which has only shined an even brighter light on this issue that has been getting worse and worse each season. NBA players just can't stay healthy, and no one knows why. Despite
I think it might have something to do with footwear as well.
Footwear, feet sticking on the
Changed
court.
a little bit.
Maybe the
Because footwear's advanced, hasn't it? Since it's not like in
Yeah,
20
of course.
years. You've got all these like super sort of like designs now and all that, and it could have something to do with what
there's
footwear they're
maybe
wearing.
too much grip on them sometimes because they're moving so fast and twisting and turning.
But my theory,
Dunno.
behind, I mean, I'm a little bit like I don't know what the word is. When I look at something
Skeptical?
like this, skeptical a little bit maybe. When I look at it, and they have so many other. The main career is playing basketball for the team. That's where it lies. But they have so many other responsibilities to field. With like clothing lines and other businesses they have.
Yeah.
And there's so many games of basketball. If you're playing 80 odd games, it's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost 2 a week.
So it gives them a bit of time to do all the commercial ventures.
Yeah.
To work on the brand.
Right.
Yeah, to work on
Yeah.
all the things when they're injured. I don't know what the responsibilities are for the club when they are for the team when they have to get I don't know when
If
they have
they've
to, when
got to
they're
be
injured, they've
in
got to be
work
there,
or-
still got to be
Right,
there and
yeah.
still do some kind of rehab in the or do they get time off a little bit more? If they're on crutches or whatever.
Yeah.
Have they got time off, or do they still have to come in and do like
Even if you're at the facility, you're probably going to have more downtime than the guys that are on the court.
Correct.
You do all your physio, and then you're probably just there studying games or something.
Yeah.
And
like
only a player would know that, because any player can say no, it still hurts, and no matter what physician or trainer you are, you can't prove it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can
Definitely,
say you
yeah.
shouldn't do because I can, but it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
I know it happens in football over here.
Yeah. 100%. I can imagine.
People get sent off just before the international breaks and stuff like that, so they get an extended holiday and all that kind
I've seen it all before at Christmas time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Despite the vast research and studies that have been poured into uncovering exactly why NBA players just can't stay healthy, there doesn't seem to be any clear-cut answer. Some factors point to the cumulative amount of wear and tear pro athletes today have gone through by the time they're in their mid-20s. Some studies have pointed towards the increase of dynamic in-game movements as the main culprit. But at most, these are just theories. Legendary NBA trainer Tim Grover, who worked with the likes of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade, attributes many injuries in the NBA today to simply not enough weightlifting. As players have shifted more and more towards sports-specific workouts and movements, their bodies have almost become unfamiliar with simple things like repetitive body weight impact and quick changes in momentum.
You build a foundation by lifting weights. You have so much more resources, less contact, and more injuries. It's mind-boggling to me. It's because everything is rubber band, everything is resistance, everything is cable. When you get hit, when you jump, when you land, there's no pulleys, there's no cables. Your body weight is the metal. You have to learn how to explode with it, and you also need to learn how to land with it and how to stop it. And that's what metal does. It teaches you to lift it, but it also teaches you to put it down. Accelerate and decelerate.
Grover also speculates that it's not what the players are doing today that leads them to injuries, it's what they've done in the past. In an article published by Sports Illustrated back in 2014, Grover explains, players aren't sustaining these injuries because of the games they're playing, they're getting these injuries because of the number of practices and games they've already played. Hundreds of games, thousands of hours since they were old enough to pick up a ball. Pee-wee, youth league, summer camps, travel teams, AAU, high school, college. A relentless schedule of games, practice, travel, and training, sometimes for multiple teams and leagues, with multiple trainers and programs. No time to play or train for other sports. End result, the same muscles, ligaments, tendons, and joints are used over and over again in the same direction, the same angles, the same motions. What piece of machinery doesn't eventually give out from repeated use over many years? At some point, the body just says, enough. Now, this theory of players putting far too many miles on their body by the time they reach the pros seems to be one of the more popular and accepted theory on these injuries.
Kind of get that, but I think they would have had the same sort of like impacts going back. You know, Jordan would have been playing when he was a kid. He would have been playing all the way through his youth. I think he started when he was like 9 or whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I bet he did.
It's like he'd be playing for multiple teams, pick up games, be at the park in the morning, noon and night sort of thing. I imagine,
which is sometimes why they get so good because they're doing it all the time.
Maybe the barrier of entry is so high nowadays that they are outworking their predecessors just because there's that many good basketball players. You need to be even better than the good ones.
He puts forward a decent theory on the weights side of thing, though, that they're not using weight. Whereas in Jordan's time, I'm guessing it would have been more weight orientated. I would guess.
There's probably full body workouts, wouldn't it? Go to the gym and work out with the guys.
Yeah.
Rather
Interesting.
than an individual
it's all personalised
trainer,
now,
elastics.
isn't it? It's all personalised towards you.
If other sports suffer the same sort of thing, i.e., American football, you know, whether they sort of.
They do.
That's more of a power.
They do a lot of weightlifting.
It's more of a power thing.
Yeah, things I've seen on the trains, they do seem to do more weights and stuff like that. So maybe that is the theory that if they're not getting more injuries, maybe that's one reasons why they don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Could be nutrition. Could be a lot of things, but I can't get my head. I can't. He looks a bit like, is it James Caan, the actor? That Grover guy.
Oh yeah, it did look familiar actually.
And every time I see him now, I'm thinking that.
Another solid explanation for the rise of injuries around the league says the answer can be found in how the game is played today in contrast to how it was played in the past. 3 decades ago, the game wasn't nearly as spaced out as it is today. A more compact court means less ground to cover, less cuts, less movement, and less opportunity to get hurt. Instead of chasing shooters around for 48 minutes, offenses were usually played from the inside out. So defense was focused in the trenches, around the basket, where you might bang a knee or catch an elbow. Fast forward to today's game, and no player is exempt from playing cat and mouse for 4 quarters, running around screens, making 90-degree cuts at full speed, attempting to cover 15 feet in a split second as you close out on a shooter, and then forcing your body to come to a stop on a dime in an effort to not crash into him. These movements are violent. Your joints and muscles and ligaments can only move and stop and start like this so many times before they shut down. Years ago, the NBA just wasn't played at this speed, and the off-ball movement and spacing wasn't nearly this complex. But what do the players think? I mean, they are the ones experiencing this influx in injuries after all.
I hate seeing someone roll an ankle.
It's not nice.
We've all been there, haven't we?
That's me all over, that is.
I went down a hole once in the pitch.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a little hole. My foot went down it. I tried to play on. I was like, no, and I ended up I had a sprained ankle.
You lucky
I
you
tried
didn't
to
break
play,
it.
tried to play on.
Yeah.
Fucking hole in the pit, in the middle of the pitch.
I've had a couple where like the top foot rolls completely off the end of the skateboard, but it'll be after a drop when you're going forwards quite fast, like down a set of stairs or something. And say the board's there and that's your foot, your ankle just rolls underneath.
Yeah.
And I had to be like carried home once. It was that bad. It was just had to take my shoe off because my foot was that big.
Yeah,
it's just brutal. I hate
ankles.
Painful.
Yeah, painful.
But I think he's onto something here when he's talking about the impact of the game,
style of play.
When you've seen it, then it was very different, wasn't it? When he's shown the two.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Well, just a couple weeks ago, Paul George touched on the subject in an interview with JJ Redick and stated that players are getting injured more now than before because they don't practice enough. Which sounds counterintuitive, but his reasoning makes sense.
Now they're like teams don't really practice. You know, we're not getting up and down. You know, there's just it's a lost art when it comes to that hard practicing. And I think that's why there's so many injuries that's going on, because guys that have a high load day and then a completely off day and then a high load day. You know, back then it was you practice hard, you got a game. You practice hard, you got a game. Then you might have a day off. Then you come right back to it. So I feel like your body just built the callus and that you were prepared for a long and rough season to where injuries like, you know, there wasn't that many injuries. There wasn't time to take a load off because you felt good to play. You know what I mean? It's almost the reverse. They think by giving us time off, it's helped managing our bodies. But in honesty, I think it's just making us weaker as players without putting that load and strain to our bodies.
And Paul George might be correct.
I was saying before about 82 games. I'm saying it's like almost 2 a week.
Yeah.
It's not, is it? Because it's not a full year. They don't play the whole year round.
No, of course not.
So I wonder how many times a week they're playing. It must be like 3 times a week, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Can't be far off, can it?
Yeah.
I wonder if this is why, like that theory you just said, could be why a lot of people get injured mid-30s doing sports. Because when you're younger, you're kicking a ball at the park every day.
Yeah.
You know, like I was on a skateboard or blades or whatever every single day, and then you get responsibilities and life happens. Then you do it once a week instead, or once every 2 weeks because you're busy. You just become more injury prone, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you do when you're older, without a doubt. Absolutely.
If you're not using the same muscles and
But if
as often
at that age, at my age, mid-30s, if I was still doing it every day, then I'd probably be significantly less prone to injury.
hand on the register.
Yeah. I mean, I know I played all the way through school, primary school, secondary school, up to 18 out before the pub leagues. I can't remember missing a game ever with an injury. I mean, never. I used to play football all the time, after school, on the fields, all the time we were playing football.
As an
football,
adult, missed games for injury.
But as an adult,
but as a kid, no, I don't remember.
But when I was younger, you're pre-18, never missed a game ever, I don't think.
Same.
And then as an adult, you've got more ressportsibilities, less time to play every game.
You're out in the pub.
My responsibility was the pub and football.
Yeah.
So, like now.
Nothing changes.
Correct. But the increase of players who simply cannot stay on the court is a steady trend that's been going on for decades now. Back in 2000, Dr. Chad Starkey of Northeastern University conducted a study on the rate of injuries throughout the NBA, dating from 1989 to 1997. His study found that in that 10-year span, there was a 12.4% increase in game-related injuries around the league. And this problem is only getting worse each season. Not too long ago, if a player was consistently missing 10 games or more in a season, they were considered injury-prone. They were unreliable. Now playing 70 games or less in a season is considered the norm. In fact, if a high-caliber player isn't missing double-digit games in a season, most people think he's going to be burned out before the playoffs even begin. Just look at this year's All-Stars and how many games they've missed so far this season. There are currently 18 All-Stars who have already missed double-digit games this season. which may not sound like much, but 20 years ago, out of the entire NBA All-Star roster, only 3 players missed double-digit games throughout the entire season. This is absurd. And right about now, some of you may be thinking, well, a lot of those games were missed due to load management. But the whole purpose of load management is to reduce the risk of injury. So if not for load management, there's a good chance that these numbers could be even higher. But despite this, the NBA has moved mountains to try and preserve their players' health. The league has reduced the number of back-to-back games, they've trimmed down the travel times, they've adjusted multiple defensive rules to help protect their players from getting hurt, and they've practically turned a blind eye to load management taking place around the league. Combine all of this with advancements in shoe technology, training, and recovery, and one could only wonder how players in the past could possibly stay healthy when players in today's NBA seem to be breaking down more often than ever before. Well, I think it boils down to 2 relatively simple factors: mileage and the evolution of the game.
Hey.
As many experts in
What's that on the James Harden roulette? 10 minutes 33.
I think he was. I think his picture was up on some of the things before, wasn't they?
Was it?
Yeah, it looked like him. But
fans have theorized, this newer generation of NBA players have put such an
next basketball one, we need to play a James Harden bingo. Put down a minute of when he's going to show up on the video. That's what I reckon.
Agreed.
extreme amount of wear and tear on their bodies at such a young age that it's only a matter of time before something gives. Most of these players have put in so many hours through youth leagues, AAU, private training, and college that by the time they're in the league, they have put the same mileage on their legs and ligaments as a player well into his NBA career in previous generations. I look at it almost like a shelf life, a clock. Every athlete has a shelf life for their athletic career. For some, it could be 30 years. For others, it could be 10. But once you start training and playing at a high level, the clock starts. Now, there's ways you can prolong this clock, like proper nutrition and training, but there's also ways to speed up this clock, like overuse and chronic injury. And eventually, when this clock times out, there's really nothing you can do to go back. From that point on, every move you make will be at the risk of injury. NBA players today not only started their clocks much sooner than players in the past, but they are also constantly speeding up their clock with nagging and sometimes even severe injuries. And as we stated before, the second and most overlooked aspect of this whole thing is the evolution of the game. At the NBA level, basketball is played so fast and so hard with so many violent cuts and redirections and weird, awkward movements that even the best athletes in the world can only take so much. At some point, all these jarring movements are gonna take a toll. The game has slowly evolved from straight lines and 94 feet of simple one-motion actions to very complex, side-to-side, straining, aching, injury-inducing movements. And it's clear that no amount of load managing or training or improvements in technology can prevent it. I don't know what the solution is. And quite honestly, I don't think anyone does. These players are designed to play this game, but the game may not be designed for them anymore.
Interesting.
We could probably talk
great
about that
video.
for a couple of hours,
I
can't
know,
we?
I know.
Yeah.
I always, when I see the only one I think of when I see Kevin Durant, his legs don't look right for him. They don't like his legs. You know what I mean? Very thin.
I've not
I know you don't get many people that tall with massive legs, but apart from someone like Shaq or whatever. But you look at Kevin Durant's legs just look a little bit spindly, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those injuries did look like ankle ones as well, didn't they? The amount of times we saw people go over on their ankles.
Yeah.
If people are training less, though, then that theory of the analogy of the clock that he just used, it'd be offset by the lack of training they're doing versus the guys who used to train all the time and play less. So I'm not sure I fully agree with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it's definitely the game has definitely changed. But like you said there, the improvement in footwear, is that helped it or hindered it? I don't know.
That's it. You think it'd make it a bit more level playing field, wouldn't you? Pick more up injuries, but you think that would negate the injuries a bit more, wouldn't you? Really, with the advances in technology for footwear. But
it's interesting that they brought in rules to protect offensive players, but most of those injuries we just saw, no one was touching them. It was down to their own movements. So it may seem like the NBA are implementing things for safety, but they may not be the relevant things for protecting the players.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
really interesting.
It was,
great. Like I say, Jimmy High Roll is like the go-to
Yeah, top blokes.
For
So
me,
well
as
put
anyway,
together.
For me,
Yeah, it's good.
Hope you guys enjoyed that too. Don't forget like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.